This is Life's a Pitch TV. Main sponsor, DPS Tech. Also supported by Lackens, all about hearing. Forward Floors, Ginger Pickle, Fred Olsen Logistics, The Dove, Seckford Golf Club, Ashford Wright, John Keeble Cars, Venue 16, The Hudson Group, Come Hither Design, Sound 4 Pro Audio, and Suffolk Sound. Our charities this year, Cancer Support Suffolk and the Ipswich Town Community Foundation. A small but very noisy crowd. Welcome along to this week's edition of Life's a Pitch TV. I'm your host, Mark Murphy. Really good to have you along today. Whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on podcast, or on Suffolk Sound, you are most welcome. Let me introduce you to the team, and it's quality, not quantity tonight. It's Russell Osman.
Thank you. Thank you.
And there's no Terry, there's no Chamber either.
They come when they want.
They do. I do.
Especially Chambers.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you for the commitment. I can see why you played so many games back in 81.
Quite right, mate.
Not missing a show, Russell.
Always available for selection, Mark.
First on the team sheet.
Might not be any good, but always available.
Right, we've got a crowd tonight. Let's hear it for it. It might be quiet tonight from the Churchman stand, sponsored by John Keeble Cars. Only there tonight is Ted Lasso. There he is.
Lovely.
Doesn't make a lot of noise, does he? But sponsoring the North Stand, we have Ashford Wright. With some special flags and souvenirs to welcome our very special guest this evening. He's just been inducted into the Ipswich Town Hall of Fame. Will you give a big welcome to Richard Naylor?
Hey guys.
Hi, Rich.
Richard, great to see you on the show. We've got the souvenirs out. We're all going on a European tour, or perhaps it should be we all did go on a European tour, at the Wembley 2000 flag. Great to see you. Just inducted into the Hall of Fame a few weeks ago. How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels really good to be compared or sort of mentioned alongside some of the greats at Ipswich Town. So yeah, really pleased with that. Really good to see a lot of old faces as well when I came down for it. So yeah, a special moment for me, and yeah, very proud.
Should have happened years ago, in my opinion. A man that makes 300 odd appearances, yeah, that's not bad at all. Really good.
Well, I appreciate that, Russell. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, mate.
And how many years all told was it, Richard?
Oh, that's a question. I think 15, something like that. I think I moved down when I was 14. I moved down when I was about 17. I left when I was 32, so maths has not been a strong point, but yeah, a lot of years anyway, a lot of years.
So you're almost a local then?
Pretty much. Well, I married a local girl and I've got family and that, so pretty much. I haven't quite got the accent, but yeah, I try my best.
Don't worry about that, mate.
It was a great night, wasn't it? It was the ex-players reunion dinner, Russell, which you've been to many, many times. Have you been to that before, Richard?
No, not since I departed at 32. So yeah, over 10 years, I've not been back to that dinner. Matt Holland has been in contact a little bit more recently. So yeah, he invited me down. So yeah, really pleased to come down.
And Mark Venus, David Johnson as well, getting their inducted trophies that night too. So it was a real time to remember that period of football, wasn't it?
Yeah, obviously both players that I played with in and around my time at the club, and sort of the most successful time when I was at the club. So yeah, really good to see them guys, and obviously Vino's been involved in football and doing well with Tony, and Jono's been, he's following his lad around the country. I think just enjoying doing that, which is nice for him.
Mark, I must say, on the evening when the lads got up to speak, but Bam Bam, Dave Johnson and Mark Venus, they spoke so well about their time at Ipswich Town Football Club. It was a pleasure just to sit back and listen to them. They were extremely respectful. They're all very bright fellas anyway, but, it was nice to hear them talk about people like George Burley that they played for and other managers, and just their time in general at the club, and speak so highly of the club. It was a pleasure to listen to.
Yeah, it was good to hear. So how did a lad from Yorkshire then, Richard, end up at Town at 14? How did that happen? Who scouted you?
I was playing in the North East for Leeds City Boys, like a game up against Newcastle Boys, and there was a scout up there who was an Ipswich scout. They scouted across the country. Back in them days, there was no rules on where you could recruit from. Nowadays, there's rules because of EPPP and academies and stuff like that. It's like an hour and a half radius, I think. So, but back then it was a bit of a free for all. And yeah, I got scouted playing for Leeds City Boys up in the North East. Got invited down. A scout brought me down on the train. At sort of 13 years old, which, safeguarding nightmare that is nowadays. But, so he brought me down and had a couple of trials, played with the boys, and fortunate to get offered a scholarship and moved down. Didn't move down when I was 16 like I should have done because I had Osgood Slatters, but moved down in my second year as a scholar at 17. So just basically playing grassroots football and then straight into sort of the second year scholar at 17. So pretty much a whirlwind, really.
Spoken to a lot of the ex-players who like you arrived at a young age, Russell and others as well. It's quite daunting, isn't it? A lot of people didn't know where Ipswich was back in the day when Kevin Beattie came along and the like, but you probably had more of an idea where Ipswich was after their successes over the years. Yeah,
definitely. And I think the thing was I was training with Leeds Academy at the time, and they were sort of keen to get me to sign. But when I came down, I think my second time I came down, they brought me mum and dad down and put us up in a hotel. And it was match day, and John Lyle took me, 14 years old, and my mum and dad into the office and had like half an hour with us chatting about football and stuff at sort of 12:30 on a match day of a first team game. So like that sort of just set the tone for like the club and how the care and attention that they placed on the young players and the academy, and like what a family orientated club and how warm and welcoming it was to me and my family. So unbelievable to have that sort of care and attention at that age. And that was obviously made me mind up to sign and move down and sort of dedicate the best part of 15 years to the club, really.
Yeah. Who were your idols at the club when you arrived? Who did you look up to?
Well, Chris Kiwami was from Bradford, so he very much took me under his wing a little bit, fellow Yorkshire.
Is that where it all went wrong, is it?
Pretty much, yeah. I think, Chris was there. Chris, I think, moved on pretty quickly. But people like Geraint Williams, Mickey Stockwell were sort of Mason, were sort of the first team lads who you sort of looked up to, who were sort of big characters in the dressing room, sort of set the standards in training and stuff like that. So people like that were my idols, if you like.
And starting out as a striker, we'll talk about in a while how you changed and ended up scoring, I think, a better score record when you were a central defender. But a big lad up front. Were you big for your age?
I think so. I mean, I wasn't particularly tall. I was pretty strong from a young age. I remember when I sort of first moved down, Brian Clew, who was then the reserve team manager, sort of spoke to the fitness coach about like, he doesn't need to go in the gym, just get him out with a football. So like all the lads would go in the gym in an afternoon, and I'd go back out on the pitch on my own and practice my left foot or me touch or whatever it was, working on me control and stuff. So I think from a young age I was pretty strong and pretty angry, really, which stood me in good stead.
Is that where Bam Bam came from, or? Yeah.
Pete Truvian, the old youth team coach, went to watch the Simpsons and was like, "There's a baby who picks up cars and stuff, and he very much reminds me of you, Rich." So it stuck as well. It
really has stuck, hasn't it?
I still come back and people just call me Bam Bam, like it's just natural, really. Obviously, when I'm up here and at home and stuff, nobody does, but as soon as I come back into Suffolk, it Bam Bam appears.
Yeah, you know if someone spots you on holiday and if they're from this part of the world, it'll be Bam Bam, won't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's right.
Can I mention Psycho as well? That was another nickname you had. Dare I mention that? You're far enough away.
Yeah, yes, that was obviously the fans used to call me Psycho, and that was, I think, due to my playing style. I suppose it was
a term of endearment.
Gifted,
they loved
so
you.
I had to find another way to impress the manager and impress and just help the team out, really. So I used to occasionally get carried away.
It's funny, we were talking about that earlier, Mark, weren't we? About looking forward to the game tonight, Ipswich and Bournemouth, and looking back on the season. And we just mentioned about the physicality of the game, and sometimes it's not all about playing lovely, beautiful football. It's about rolling your sleeves up and, getting the best of your opponent. Whether that's giving him the psycho bam bam treatment or whatever, you've got to make sure you win the game. And it isn't always about playing the best football. It's about who wants to win the most. And I think that's where we've come up short a few times.
Yeah. It's about putting a marker down, Richard, isn't it? When you're up front there with, up against those big central defenders. Oh, can you hear us, Richard? No, I think we've lost the sound for him. We'll stick with him a second or two, see if we can get that back. But can you hear us now, Richard? No, he can't hear us at the moment. So we'll just try and work and get that back. It's interesting you mentioned the strikers there. Putting a marker down. And of course, as a defender, you want to do the same, don't you? So it's quite early on. There's often a little bit of a tussle between a tough centre forward like Richard and a tough centre back like you.
It always used to be. First few minutes, and it was. I think the referees expected it to happen. They would not allow it, but they'd just keep an eye on it to make sure nothing was. A little below the belt, so to speak. But, the first ball came up to the striker and I could get tight with him and give him a little clip from behind. I would try and do that. But likewise, sometimes the striker thought, well, he's going to give me a kick here. I'm going to get him first. And you'd end up like getting an elbow between the eyes, and think, aye, right, game on. So the first 5 or 10 minutes of the game was a little bit of... feeling your opponent out a little bit, seeing what he's made of. If you kick him and he doesn't come back at you, you think, well, that's great, got him for the rest of the game. If he comes back at you, you think, right, okay, we know exactly where we stand now. I can kick him, but he's got to kick me back, and you just get on with it again like that.
And we're seeing that with Liam Delap at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah, and he's a breath of fresh air, really, when you're on his side. And we spoke about it with Chamber and Terry, and I think sometimes just in a game he shows his cards a little bit too soon, and all the defenders are now expecting to be roughed up by him, and I think now and again he could just lay off it a little bit for the first 5 or 10 minutes, and then when he needs to, then go and impose yourself physically on your centre half when he's not really expecting it. He might think he's in for a quiet day, and suddenly Delap goes straight through him and, make it happen where it's going to count most, not just on the halfway line, because it doesn't really matter there, but further up the pitch.
It's good to see a centre forward like that, like Richard was, like Delap is now.
Yeah.
You played with Mariner and people like that as well, didn't you? And
Mariner was hard.
Something about them.
Yeah, Paul Mariner, God rest his soul, he was one real tough guy. He's a good-looking fella, big, strong boy, but brave as a lion. And he would get kicked from pillar to post sometimes, but it didn't bother him. We played at Middlesbrough one year, and I think they got someone like Stuart Bohm and Tony McAndrew, the two centre halves, and for some reason we ended up playing with Paul through the middle on his own that day. And in the first sort of 40 minutes of the game, Mars got kicked all over the place. And just before half-time, he let one of the centre-halves, Tony McAndrew, have a little elbow on the side of the head, and he busted him across the eyebrow. And then, of course, it kicked off second half. He got kicked again, and so he did the other centre-half as well, Stuart Bohm. So at the end of the game, we're in the players' lounge, and Paul's got a bit of padding on his elbow, and the other two lads have walked in. One's got 5 stitches in that eye, the other's got 5 in the other one. But that's how he was. They were big, strong boys. You knew where he stood. But Paul, and he used to go in on goalkeepers as well, 50-50 with a goalkeeper. Usually the goalkeeper comes out winning. Not very often did they win anything with Marner about.
It's good to see, isn't it? It's good to see that sort of that commitment, really, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it was commitment, because Paul came off second best quite a few times. A little bit different from Kevin Beattie, because Kevin could run through a brick wall and not notice the brick wall had been there. But Marner was a little bit of a more gentle soul than Kevin was.
Yeah. He didn't fear or feel anything, did he? Bless him.
No, he didn't. No,
an absolute legend. Let's talk about Bournemouth. Wolves, as we film this and record this, you may be watching this later in the week. You may be listening to it on podcast or listening on Suffolk Sound at the weekend. As we record this, Wolves won last night, 12 points gap.
Yeah.
We haven't kicked off against Bournemouth yet. It's one of these unusual shows where you might be listening to it after you know the result and we don't. It's a big gap now, isn't it?
It is a big gap. You know, a four-win gap. But we can only do what we can do. I mean, tonight, we're 27 points worse off than Bournemouth, you know, so that's 9 wins, which is a massive difference. And Bournemouth are in 10th position. So what happens if we win tonight? It puts us in good stead for the game on Saturday. And if we can pick up 3 points at Pullman Road on Saturday against Wolves, it makes a big dent into that 12-point gap. But we've not won a game all season. We've got 1 point out of the last 9 games. You know, 1 point out of 27. It's not very good, is it?
Well, we were picking up points at the beginning of the year, weren't we? Beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And we just seem to have gone off the boil. I mean, the team is in. You'll know this if you're listening and watching later in the week. But the team for us is just in. Palmer in goal, Twanzebe, O'Shea and Burgess,
Yep.
Townsend and Morsey and Cajuste, Johnson, Enciso, Broadhead and Delap. On the bench, Walton, Wolfenden, Greaves, Phillips, Taylor, Philogene, Chaplin, nice to see him back, Jack Clark and George Hurst. So,
All right, so no Davis, no Leif Davis.
No Leif Davis, no.
So Delap up front, yeah.
Yeah.
And did he say Hutchinson and Isco and...
No Hutchinson.
No Hutchinson.
No, he's not anywhere to be seen at the moment. So, I mean, Philogene played well for the under-21s, didn't
so
he?
Philogene...
He's on the bench. So the team is Palmer, Twanzebe, O'Shea,
Yeah.
Burgess, Townsend, Morsey,
Yeah.
Cajuste and Johnson, and then Enciso, Broadhead and Delap. And it's nice to see Broadhead starting because he deserves a go. He's played well, I think, when he's come on.
I thought he's looked very sharp when he's
Yeah.
come on. Yeah, so he'll be down the left of the 3. And Isco, interesting to see Johnson and Townsend in the starting lineup.
It's mixing and matching again, isn't it?
Well, is Davis injured? Is he on the bench, did you say?
No.
He's not on the bench?
No.
So 17-day break and he's not on the... Well, he must have picked up an injury somewhere then.
Yeah.
Or an illness or whatever.
I mean, it does feel like an age since we played, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a long time.
It's ridiculous.
Long time without a game. It is very ridiculous. But there was talk about Delap starting up front with George Hurst, but obviously that's not going to happen tonight. It might finish with both of them on the pitch at the same time, but you know, I would like to see them play 2 up front and go for. We've got nothing to lose at the moment, but you know, the only thing, as we mentioned earlier, you know, if he did that and they do win and win comfortably, everybody will turn around and say, "Well, told you should have done that all year."
I mean, he's stuck to the system, hasn't he? He's stuck to the system, and you know, he said at the beginning of the season, he's not going to change his principles. He's going to stick to the system that's done him proud in the last 2 years. But it hasn't really worked, has it?
Well, it hasn't worked, you know, and the proof of the pudding is staring you in the face, you know. But we have been guilty of making the same mistakes over and over again. So whether that's down to the players or something, we've picked up a few injuries along the way, and it's very easy to blame training, blame injuries, blame this, blame that, blame the other thing, you know. But and I don't think we've had much luck go our way. I don't think we've had a lucky win or anything like that lately. So we could do with
it's tough.
We could do with a bit of luck.
Well, let's bring Richard Naylor back in again now. Yeah. And Richard, we've just been discussing Town's season. It's been a very, very tough baptism in the Premier League. It's looking, unfortunately, like a relegation, but you know, still to play for. But what do you make of their season? It's been a huge step up for the 3 teams coming up this season and last.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the gap is just getting that little bit bigger, and each year it is a tough ask for teams to jump up a level. I suppose you in the Championship, the teams you're playing against generally make a mistake or they get out of shape, and you can capitalise that and score a goal. in the Premier League, generally, they don't get out of shape, they don't make mistakes. So that, to actually score and create against these teams is tough. I came down for the Southampton game, and they're struggling at the bottom, but still it was difficult trying to open them up and try and score against them. And I think a lot of the players, it's their first taste of the Premier League, so finding their feet there, learning on their job, which is difficult. It's not an easy thing to do. So I think they've done okay. There's probably some mistakes that the manager will hold his hand up, and like I say, the players, it's their first experience and they'll be better for it. I think he's actually recruited quite well in terms of lads who are good Championship players who will bounce back up, and maybe he had half an eye on, like, it's going to be tough. There's a chance we could go down, but at least we do go down, we're in a really good position to bounce back up. And second time around, if all goes well, you could potentially have players who played in the Premier League before, a little bit more experience, a little bit more nous, and he's staying there a bit longer the next time round.
Richard, did you have Jacob Greaves in your academy?
Yeah, so I worked with Jacob from sort of age of 15 through he went on loan to Cheltenham as a first-year pro, and then got in the first team. But he played in League One for our first team, then he played in the Championship for a few seasons. And again, this is his first taste of the Premier League, and he's finding out that you can't make mistakes, you can't be in the wrong position, because you get where he would have got away with that, last year in League One, but this year you can't. So I think he's a good player. I think he's a really good player, and I think he will go on and be a Premier League player in the future. Maybe a little bit soon for him, I don't know, but he's done okay in games that I've seen, and some games he's struggled, which you would expect from a young lad, starting out in the Premier League. So yeah, I think he's a really good signing for the club. He's a great lad, a great character, and he will benefit massively from this season. But he's finding it tough at times. Yeah,
as a centre half myself, and obviously you played a million games there. I just feel sometimes we've chopped and changed the back four a fair bit, and we haven't got that continuity of saying that they're good partnerships between the left side centre half and the left back, the two centre halves together, or the right side centre half and the right back. I think the more you can play your back four together, the better they get on. And I think we've been guilty of getting exposed a little bit between the centre halves and the full backs, where I would have preferred to see the full-backs tucked in a little bit more. I don't know about you, Bam Bam. You're more modern and up-to-date with how coaches work these days. But in and around the 18-yard box, I want to see people in and close to me and ready to protect me.
You want to protect the goal, and you can only do that with a solid back four, narrow and defending. But ultimately, he's got a way of playing as the manager, and it's been successful over the last 3 years, and you can't really sort of argue with that. So did he need to be a bit more pragmatic in the Premier League? Possibly. Do you need to be a bit more secure? Definitely. So, yeah, I think people are getting exposed because of the way we're playing. We're expansive and stuff, but, that can leave you vulnerable, and you do get punished at this level. The last thing you want to do is get left 1v1 with a top Premier League striker, because it's going to make you look daft. And at times that's probably happened. So I'm sure the manager's learning from it as well. Do you know what I mean? He's a young manager it's his first taste of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it happened to Jacob at, what was it, the Forest game, didn't it? And then, they made the change at half-time. I just thought somewhere along the line he probably needs an old head alongside him just to, keep him in the right place at the right time a bit. But
yeah, there's definitely a lot said for experience. I'm like someone who's played in the Premier League before, who understands it. Playing alongside you can learn a lot from sort of senior players. When I was at Ipswich, we had some really good senior players, and you do lean on them. So yeah, I don't think disrupting the back four is never ideal. If you can keep a settled back four and keep working together and understand each other, strengths and weaknesses, that's massive. And yeah, it's probably been one of the drawbacks to the season, really.
McKenna's still very upbeat, as he would be. 27 points to play for. He said about a quarter of the season left to go. He's going to have to be upbeat. He's going to have to raise the players. What was that like when you were facing relegation, Bam Bam? When George was there, he's trying to lift you, trying to lift the. There's a huge weight of responsibility on his shoulders.
Yeah, he sent me out on loan, so I don't know. Yeah, so the second season in the Premier League. Obviously, we signed a lot of players in that season. I was in and out of the team. So the second half of the season, I went out on loan I had a month at Millwall, with Tim Cahill and all them guys when they I think they made the FA Cup semi-final, or they might have made the final that year. So a really good team at Millwall. And then I finished the season at Barnsley with a month at Barnsley. So yeah, I never got relegated at Ipswich, to be honest. So,
quite right, mate. You stick your hand up there.
That's a proper claim to fame.
Nothing to do with me.
I've been in dressing rooms when things are you're losing games week after week, and it does. You can't rely on the manager to motivate you. You have to do it as a group, and you have to stick together, and you have to get through them tough times. And if you've got a good camaraderie between you, if you've played together for a while, if you've got good characters in the dressing room, that's massive. That can be really helpful. And I know when managers sign players, they do look at the character, because you do rely on them in the tough times as much as the good times, really.
Let's talk about your promotion with Town to the Premier League. Pivotal game at Wembley, which you played a massive part in. What are your memories of the nearly years and then finally getting up through the playoffs? What a way to do it.
Yeah, unbelievable. Like we missed out on the semi-finals, I think 3 years on the spin. I think we missed out on away goals in one of the years, which was the last year they ever did that. So that was nice, thanks. But yeah, going up at Wembley was tremendous. We built a squad over the years. We'd sort of added to it. We tweaked it a little bit, and that final season, we were in a really good place, had a really good squad, and we signed Marcus, I think, in the January transfer window, and he just gave us that final impetus to get us over the line, really, which we definitely needed. We needed that quality in the final third, because goals win you games, and Marcus brought that, and I was lucky enough to contribute at Wembley, but it was definitely a team effort and something that built over the years in terms of the squad, and George adding really good players, over the years.
It was a great bunch of lads, wasn't it? I mean, you were all together. Some interesting characters, which we'll come on to in a moment or two. You alluded to one or two of these at the Players' Reunion dinner. But a good, solid team of professionals, many of whom, went on to, have good careers in the Premier League after we came down. Yeah,
a lot of really good players, and sort of George had a knack of unearthing sort of rough diamonds, if you like, maybe hadn't been as successful at other clubs, and John McGreal, Mark Venus, people like that who maybe weren't sort of superstars at the clubs that we brought in, but we got them in on fairly good, cheap money. Really didn't spend a lot, but actually were really good players for the club, and big characters like Tony Mowbray coming in, Jim Magilton, like real big characters in the dressing room, and they helped. But we'd go out together, we'd socialise together, and we'd win together, and there was real good team spirit amongst the lads.
So you'd go out together. I've got a few names to throw at you now. Where should we start? Let's start with Danny Sonner, shall we?
Yeah,
come on, Richard.
Danny, he was an interesting character, was Danny. He's from Wigan, very strong Wigan accent, and he was he wasn't the sharpest tool in the box, let's say. So I think the boys used to hide his pants every day, and eventually he just run out of pants. So that was him. I think he got changed in the dark most of the time, but that was because he thought he'd had a power cut and he didn't know how to do it, but he just needed to change his light bulb. So there was there's a number of Danny Son stories, but a great lad, but a strange character.
You mentioned at the Players' Reunion dinner, I think, that something about a taxi at half time.
Oh yeah, the taxi driver did come in, and when he'd been subbed off, came in and said it was a taxi. I think it was actually the security guard who came in and mentioned it in front of the lads at half time, which didn't go down well with the manager.
Call me a cap.
Yes, Adam Tanner.
Yeah, Adam obviously had his issues, but Adam was a great lad. I sort of
he's a big friend of this show.
Yeah, he was a good player. He was sort of a couple of years older than me. He'd come through the system, but very lively on a night out, and he'll tell you lots of stories. Most of them can't be repeated, I'm afraid.
Crofty, what was Crofty like? Oh, can you hear us, Richard?
Gone again.
Oh, sound's gone again. Okay, we'll try and get him back. Just when we get into juicy bits. We'll try and get him back again in a second or two, which is a shame. What we will do while we're waiting for Richard to come back is let's talk about a player of the week. It's going to be difficult, this, because we haven't had a game for 17 days. But it is sponsored by the Dove in Ipswich. Yes, well, there is a player who's got some points over the last few days. Muric, of course,
Yes.
got some points for his driving escapades.
Oh, he's got to win it hands down then, hasn't he?
First points he's scored us all season. £23,000 worth of fines.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20. Yes, says the capacity crowd. What? £23,000 worth of fines for his motoring offences. He's not going to play for us again, is he?
No.
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 No. Okay, we'll move on then.
It's amazing, actually. I'm like dumbfounded that anybody can rack up 23 grand's worth of parking tickets and everything else.
I know. It's just beyond belief, isn't it, really?
Was it insurance, speeding, whatever.
Yeah.
So-
Time to move on, I think, from that particular signing, which is unusual because our recruitment's really very good.
It usually doesn't come down to making a mistake about the character, does it?
Not anymore.
Players' form can come and go, but usually, you invest in the character as well. And it looks like we got a dud there.
Yeah. So I don't think we can award a Player of the Week this week, unfortunately, because we just haven't had a game.
You can predict one for tonight. Who you think's going to be the best player tonight?
Palmer. We've talked about under-21s last week. Oh, yes. Yeah. Hutch and Philogene. Philogene and Hutch.
Townsend for me.
Okay.
I like him. I think he's a good player.
No, he is.
I just think he's been unfortunate that he's not had more starts than he's had. Every time he's gone into play, he's done a very good job.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens after the Bournemouth game. We'll start to award some more points for our end of season dinner.
Yeah.
Where we'll be handing out our Life's Pitch TV awards. Don't forget, if you want to come along and be part of our capacity crowd, it's just one stand open tonight, normally two. There is free beer, everybody, isn't there?
Yes.
Not now, it's all gone. We have to get some more in. And
me.
snacks as well. So all you have to do is go on to lifesapitch.tv and I think there's a form on the front page now for you to fill in to apply to be a member of the capacity crowd. We'll send you a note back to say you're in or not. Right, let's do this. It's time to Ask the Legends, sponsored by Seckford Golf Club.
Probably got to get this bang on to get a point then, haven't I?
And at the moment, there is just one legend on the sofa. Normally, it's a battle between Terry and Russell.
There's only one legend winning.
And I think you might be adding to your points total tonight, the way things are going. But the last I checked, I think it was Terry 11.5, you at 15.5, I think. Is that right? 15.5?
I got 10.5, 15.5.
Yeah, no, we gave him a point, I think.
You gave him a point the week before that as well.
Yeah, I think he's on 11.5 anyway. So we'll see if we can make... Just make up as we go along, Russell. You're well ahead. Ahead. So, Simon, have you got a question for us?
Certainly have. Right. We've talked about him tonight not being involved in tonight's game at all, but prior to joining town in 2022, Leif Davis was at Leeds. Whilst he was there, he went out on loan to Bournemouth. But how many appearances did he make for Bournemouth?
And to make this competitive,
Yeah.
I think we need someone, Dan, from Come Hither Design, to come up to this microphone where Simon is, and to you're the tallest one, to take the place of Terry Butcher tonight. So just share that microphone with Simon. So come over, see if you can work out the answer. Do you want to repeat that question again, Simon?
So Leif Davis, prior to joining town in 2022, was at Leeds. Whilst he was there, he went out on loan to Bournemouth, who we're playing tonight, of course. But how many appearances did he make?
Okay. No, you don't get a whiteboard. You just have to go there. You have to... There we
on
go.
down.
Sorry.
That's all right.
You'll have to probably bend down as well because you're so tall. Have you got an answer, Russ?
I need to.
I have,
Let's see what he says first.
Well, it'll be the nearest one.
I think.
Okay.
Nearest one. Okay. So the questioning is very straightforward tonight. And Russell, so it'll be the nearest, I think, we'll have on this. Yep. So, Russell, what have you got? 24 appearances. Okay.
I was going to say 20.
So, Dan's saying 20. Okay. You are Terry Butcher's substitute tonight. So, Simon, the answer is...
It's 12 appearances.
So, it's a point to Terry Butcher. Well done, Dan. He'll be pleased to hear that news.
Yeah, well done, Dan.
Another point. It was 12.
12.
So well done.
That surprises me.
Thank you very much for stepping in to do that. Simon, thanks very much for the question as well from Seckford. Really good to see you as always. It's going to be our table football challenge now, which could be equally exciting. Sponsored by Fred Olsen Logistics. So normally it's Terry and Russell taking on our celebrity guest and AN other. So Russell, would you like to come up and take your position to the table football table? And Russell really loves to play golf. And I think we need someone who's got expertise using their hands with a good grip and used to hitting a ball. So would you please welcome, he doesn't know he's going to do this, Simon J from Seckfords. You're going to have to go the other side, yeah. You're taking him on. He's not your partner. So this is how it goes. We're still looking to try and beat 5 goals scored on the very first game of our season here on Life's a Pitch by Luke Chambers. So, Simon, see how many goals you can score against Russell Osman. You're playing in place of Richard Naylor here, OK? So channel your inner Bam Bam.
Inner Bam Bam.
Are you ready? On my whistle... Oh, booted out the ground already. Here we go. And Russell's on the attack. Good defending there from Simon. Come on, Simon, just channel your... Oh, it's 1-0 to Russell. Come on, channel your inner Bam Bam. Come on. 1-0 at the moment. Come on, Simon. Oh, it's 1-1. Great score from Bam Bam. 1-1. Come on, get it out there. Come on. So at least get a victory. 2-1. 2-1 to Richard Naylor against Russell Osman. So you're channeling your inner Bam Bam very well.
It's just, you know.
Come on.
Not the same as that. It's a butchering goal.
Nearly an own goal, but not. Come on, come on. One more. 2-1 at the moment. 3-1. 3-1. Fantastic. 15 seconds left. 3-1. Oh, it's about... Oh, good save, Russell. Good save. 3-1. Come on, we've got another 5 seconds to get another goal in. Channel your inner Bam Bam. Come on, quickly, quickly, quickly. Well done. There we are, Richard. You won 3-1 without even knowing it.
It's the most I've ever scored anyway, so happy with that.
A hat-trick. Brilliant. Well done. We were before we lost you, Richard, we were going through... I was just randomly naming some players from your era at Town. I think we got to Gary Croft.
Yeah, we took Crofty on a night out. I think he was in jail at the time. We took a mannequin with his face stuck to it. So yeah, good lad, but obviously had his troubles as well.
Yes. I mean, did he ever? He played games with the tag on, didn't he? If I remember rightly. Yeah,
I think it's a record for that I'm sure he's not that proud of, but yeah, I think he's the first player to do that. Yeah.
And Jim Magilton, that was a great relationship. You used to room together, didn't you? But it went off a bit when he became manager. Is that right?
Yeah, with me and Jim were very close. I started rooming with him at some point while he was with us, and yeah, roomed with him for about 3 or 4 years. When he became manager, it was a little bit challenging. That relationship obviously had to change, and yeah, I'm not sure we both handled it very well. But yeah, it was difficult. But yeah, time has passed now, and we're fine. So yeah, it was always challenging when you're close to someone and they become your boss in essence, and they're picking a team, and yeah, it was slightly awkward. Let's just put it like that.
Didn't give you a new contract then or anything like that?
No, he couldn't wait to get me out the door. So that tells me something.
That is a difficult situation, though, isn't it? It really is a difficult situation.
Yeah.
You had some great times, as I say, at Town, on and off the field. You know, lots of people have lovely, very fond memories of you, which I hope you realise. And I showed you this before we went on air tonight. This is the scarf that we got from Inter Milan when Town played Inter Milan. You can see that, which was a fantastic trip in Europe. We've got the European Tour flag somewhere in the capacity. Oh, it's on the floor now. On the floor down there, which you signed. Did you enjoy your European trips?
Yeah, it was class. Yeah, I think we went to Moscow. obviously Milan and somewhere else. I think we got through to whatever round it was. But yeah, we were really successful. But obviously having a small squad, playing in the Prem and being in Europe, it took its toll on the boys in that second season. So it was great experiences and really enjoyable. Actually, we needed a lot more players, and nowadays the massive squads out there, the Premier League lads have 2 teams full of internationals, and we were pretty much the same sort of 14, 16 players playing every game really. So yeah, it was challenging, but yeah, absolutely unbelievable. Great memories, really great memories.
Do you think if you hadn't have had a European tour, you might have stayed in the Prem?
Possibly. I don't think we made great signings that summer, to be honest. So I don't think we'd improved ourselves. And your second season is always challenging. That second season syndrome, they call it, don't they? Where teams sort of realise how you play and what you like and your strengths and weaknesses. Where you're a bit of an unknown quantity in that first year. So I think we would have always found it tougher, but would we have stayed up? Yeah, possibly. If we'd have probably added a couple of better players than what we did, really.
Yeah, we'd settle for that now, wouldn't we? Second season syndrome would be a blessing.
Yeah, it would.
yeah, you're not wrong.
I was just going to ask the question that nobody seems to answer with any sort of confidence. How old was Finidi George?
Very old. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously he'd been playing 30 years when he joined us, so he was... Yeah, I think he was at Ajax, wasn't he? I think he was saying he was 17 when he was playing there. That was a long time ago. But yeah, Finidi was a lovely fella, and he wasn't a bad player, but he wasn't capable of playing really at the Premier League and sort of push the team on, which is what we were hoping he would do. So yeah, I remember I scored a few goals pre-season and did quite well, and then they started Finidi first game of the season, so I kind of realised I wasn't going to get much of a look in, which was disappointing.
Yeah, I remember exactly that first game of the season, and I was on holiday in a caravan in the south of France, and the game was featured on World Service. So I got my little transistor radio, holding on to the aerial, holding on to the caravan to try and get a better signal. Hearing this guy, Finidi George, demolishing the opposition. I think he scored 2 goals, didn't he, on his debut? And I'm thinking, oh God, can't wait to get back. Can't wait to get back to see this genius. And of course, that was it, wasn't it? That really was it.
I thought he was
that was definitely the highlight, yeah.
I thought he was a fashion brand.
Perhaps that's what he went on to do. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. Talk about the switch from striker to defender, Bam Bam. How did that happen?
Yeah, I think when we got relegated, and obviously George, I think started the season, then got relieved of his duties. I think the club had basically run out of money. I think there was it wasn't Sky TV, but another broadcaster had bought the rights to the Championship and then gone bust. So there was literally whatever they'd budgeted.
ITV digital, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. You're right there. And basically,
cost me a load of money.
Relegation parachute payments weren't quite the same, so. They moved on all the players who had signed new contracts who were on Premier League sort of wages and who should be playing in the Premier League. I wasn't one of them, so Joe came in and he had to juggle the pack really. He had to shuffle the pack really, and what he had wasn't it wasn't balanced squad, and he'd done it previously with Ian Marshall up at Oldham. Marshall obviously played for us for a few years as well. So he asked me if I could do it, and I said, well, actually, I'd played centre-half as a kid up until, coming down here. It was sort of my second-year scholar when I'd moved up front, and that's where George Burley liked me. It wasn't because I felt like I was a centre-forward. It was just where George wanted me to play for him. So, yeah, I was more than happy to move back. Joe put me back there, and, managed to prolong my Ipswich career. I don't think if I'd have stayed as a centre-forward, I would have still been at the club sort of 8 years later or whatever it was I played for Joe, and that was really good, successful time in my sort of playing career really. I thought I was playing some of my best football at that time. Obviously not the highlights of being up front and scoring goals in the Premier League and Europe and that, but actually as a player and as a me part of the team regularly, that was probably my best period, and I was playing my best football as a centre half.
And you still knew where the goal was, didn't you?
Yeah, it was always nice to go up for corners and whatever else. And occasionally, with injuries and stuff, Joe would play me up front if he really needed to. But yeah, I didn't enjoy it at that stage, to be fair.
Here's another hypothetical, but it's one that people do talk about a lot here. If Joe had had money, what would have happened?
Yeah, he would have got us out of that league, definitely. I think he was a real good man management, and he knew what good players were. You know, he could recruit in good players as well. We had, I think, Darren Bennett and Shefke up top, which was good enough to fire us out of the league. We just needed a few other bits and pieces, really, to add to it, to, like you say, to get you over the line, really. But yeah, Shefke and Darren were definitely good enough to fire us out of the Championship into the Premier League. We probably just didn't have the depth of squad or good enough players in some of the other positions.
And the club gave you a testimonial, much to the chagrin of Russell Osman and Terry Butcher, who mentioned that at the players' reunion dinner. You didn't get one, Russ, did you?
Well, I didn't do 16 years like Bam Bam, you know, so he deserved it a lot more than me.
Yeah, but that must have been nice for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one for. I don't really enjoy the fuss or the sort of the stuff that comes along with football. Really, I enjoy playing football, and that's it. So I didn't really want a big fuss, but they said, you know, you can have. Would you like a game? And I was like, yeah, it'd be nice to get back the team that played at Wembley. So all them boys. Basically, I just wanted a good night out, so I was getting back my mates. Yeah, we brought back the sort of Wembley team that got promoted against the current side and played a game, really. So it was lovely to do that, and you know, I was fortunate enough I could give a bit to East Anglian Children's Hospice, which is, you know, where we used to go regular at Christmas and stuff. So yeah, something like that. It was special, really.
And you managed to score the last minute penalty, is that right?
Yeah, I told Shane Supple to dive out of the way, so it's
fantastic. And then off to back home, back to Leeds.
Yeah, like I say, me and Jim weren't probably getting on as well. So he was he sort of let me know that Leeds was coming for me on loan and that I wasn't going to play. So I was like, okay, that's fine. So I went back. To be honest, Leeds made me captain, which is really strange for a lad on loan to be captain. So obviously, Simon Grayson was the manager, thought highly of me, which was nice. Sort of a couple of weeks into my loan, I said, look, we want to make it permanent. So I sort of rang Jim. He didn't pick up. I spoke to people at the club and said, look, Leeds want to make it permanent, but, you know, obviously I've been at Ipswich a long time. I'm happy to, you know, stay at Ipswich and fight for my place if that's what you want, or I'll, you know, if I'm not part of the plans, I'll leave. And yeah, it was made clear that I wasn't part of the plans and that I should go. So that was fine, but Jim never had that conversation with me. But yeah, so I went up there and they were in League One at the time, and sort of the remit was to get them out of League One and back into the Championship, and managed to do that in my sort of first full season there. Got promoted out of League One and into the Championship, and had a season in the Championship where we finished 7th. And again, we had a good side. We had, you know, some good players in that team, but there was no investment. It was Ken Bates who was the owner.
Oh dear.
So yeah, we had no investment to take the next step into the Premier League. So we had a couple of years 3 years at Leeds, and then I finished my career. I failed my medical at Doncaster, so signed sort of a month to month at Doncaster, and that was sort of me at sort of 35. I was done, a broken body basically.
You had a fair few injuries, didn't you, through your career?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it at the dinner. I had one leg longer than the other, which wasn't picked up till I was around 22. So I think that had a big impact on my back and on my knees. I had a lot of knee problem and I had back surgery 3 times. So I think training and playing every day with a leg length deficit, everyone's got a slight one, but mine was quite pronounced. So I think that did have an impact on my body. So yeah, I think I had 13 operations over the course of my career, some of them small, quick ones, but some of them more serious, like the back surgery. So yeah, it definitely takes its toll being a professional footballer and trying to be an elite athlete and all that comes with it, really. But it's part and parcel of it, I suppose.
Yeah. And tell us what you're up to now.
Academy manager at Hull City. Yeah, look after sort of under 7s to under 21s. Really enjoy the job. I sort of coached after I finished playing at Leeds for a couple of years, and then came to Hull and did their 18s to 21s, and now I'm like in charge of the whole shebang. So it keeps me busy, keeps me out of trouble. So I'm enjoying it.
Richard, did you start once the Triple P kicked in?
Yeah. It'd already sort of been in force. So we get audited every few years, and there's hoops and stuff we have to do through minimum training hours for the kids. And yeah, I just look back on when I was playing, coming out of grassroots, sort of one session a week on a sort of a dusty old pitch, as opposed to what like our under-9s have to do, sort of 8 hours of coaching by UEFA A licensed coaches and stuff like that. It's unbelievable. Yeah. The level, and it has raised the standards across the board, but probably lost a little bit of the personality.
Yeah. I did the under-18s at Ipswich the year before it went through the EPPP process. So I would take the under-18s to go and play Tottenham, and there'd be me, the physio, and the players.
Yeah.
Once we joined the EPPP, and they didn't go in level 1, which they were advised to do, they went in level 2, which they thought was going to be better for them. Marcus Evans saving a bit of money, blah, blah, blah. But I would then take the team to a game. There'd be myself, my full-time assistant, Jared Nash at the time, 2 physios, strength and conditioning coach, sports scientists, sports psychologists, analysts. The education bloke used to come along as well. I needed a separate coach just for the staff. It's unbelievable now. Yeah. And then the audit and everything, and we got Chloe back involved in the academy then, and he's still there doing a good job, I think.
Yeah, no, it's frightening the amount of staffing that you need for a Category 2, and I know Ipswich are going Category 1. They've just gone through their audit, so they'll have to employ a lot more staff really. More. And sometimes it's unnecessary. The players, they need a ball, they need a bit of grass, and they need a bit of support and help. But in general, like, the best players will come through with that. But yeah, the amount of support that they get nowadays is frightening, and some of it's for the best. The safeguarding stuff and the welfare when boys get released is really important, that we get that bit of it right, and we try and be hot on that at Hull in terms of making sure they're supported when they do get released, because a lot of lads live and breathe football. I think they're going to make it, but unfortunately, the reality is that most of them won't.
But isn't it great that you're still involved in football? You must really relish the role that you've got, so you can still get up in the morning, get the tracksuit on, get out onto the grass.
Yeah, I'm not on the grass as much as I'd like to be, unfortunately. I spend a lot of time behind a desk. But yeah, when I do get on the grass and do a bit of heading with the lads,
kicks the lads. Kicks under 9s around a bit.
Yeah, definitely. No, I do really enjoy it. I'm privileged to have the job. So yeah, I'm glad I'm still involved in the game. It's great.
Well, I'm very pleased that you've both been here tonight. And can I say, incredibly well behaved, the two of you, because Bam Bam, we've had a bit of trouble with Butcher and Osman over the years, and were you ever sent off, Bam Bam?
Might have been a couple of times,
okay. Yeah. So we've had a bit of trouble on the show recently, and so Kevin, who's part of our capacity crowd, has bought me a little wallet. I don't know if you can see this. We get the camera, a little wallet, and it's a FIFA wallet, and it's got a red card, and it's got a yellow card. So as the season goes on now, Osman, I'll get my whistle out. Hang on, where's my whistle?
Yeah.
Just make you come out in hives, the pair of you. Referee's whistle. Come here.
Yeah. You can get a white card now as well, can't you?
Can you?
Yeah, for good behaviour and doing things nicely. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
When you see a card, Bam Bam, and hear a whistle like that, how does it make you feel?
Cold sweats. To be honest, I think
feel like an argument.
Yeah, the first game that George Burley saw me play. No, actually, it wasn't the first game he saw me play. It was the first game he saw me play for the reserves. So when I went to Bury St Edmunds to play for the reserves, and I got in a bit of a tussle with a QPR centre half, and I picked him up and put him over the side of the railing, and was raining down blows on him, and obviously got sent off. And George came into the sort of changing room when I was sat there, sort of feeling sorry for myself on my own, and said, "Don't ever do that again." so I didn't. But yeah, it's a cold sweats when I see a red card.
Well, I'm sorry to do that to you, but you've been an absolute star tonight. Just before you go, we've got a couple of other bits and pieces that we need to do. It is time for our On This Day in History, sponsored by Fred Olsen Logistics.
Right, on this day in history, Dan Botton's book, I'm going to start on a Monday, the 1st of April, 2024. This is just to cheer everybody up tonight. A pulsating Easter Monday encounter at Portman Road saw Town overcome promotion rivals Southampton thanks to a last-gasp winner from Ecuadorian Jeremy Sarmiento. Town went top of the championship.
Come on.
Town went top of the championship after Leif Davis' thunderbolt was countered by 2 Saints strikes from Che Adams and Adam Armstrong. Nathan Broadhead levelled for Town before ex-Blue James Bree was sent off. Right.
That was a great night, wasn't it?
It was a fantastic night, wasn't it?
Brilliant.
Easter Monday. Right, Thursday the 2nd of April, going back a bit now, 1925. Centre forward Ron Blackman was born in Portsmouth. Blackman, a Reading legend with 158 Royals goals, scored 12 times over 3 seasons. Monday the 2nd of April 2001, Southampton were trounced 3-0 at the Dell as the Tractor Boys moved up to 3rd in the Premier League in front of the Sky Cameras. Marcus Stewart's hat-trick was the first in the top flight for 16 years. And that is all from Dan Botton's Ipswich Town on this day.
Fantastic. Can you remember that match, Richard?
I don't remember very much, if I'm perfectly honest. My career and the games just all blur into the one. So if you ask me the specifics, I can't remember anything, which is really poor answer, isn't it?
No, not at all. No. Do you know I'm with you?
I'm the same as you.
It's amazing how some players can remember. You can remember how you defended a goal, scored a goal.
No, I'm
You're the same, are you?
Completely the opposite to Terry.
Oh right.
Terry remembers all his games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, I can't remember anyone I played against either, so it's kind of awkward when you bump into people as well, because obviously a lot of ex-players are still in the game and coaching in different capacities, so I'm constantly bumping into people, pretending that I know them, and then walking away. And
I refresh me memory on YouTube.
Oh,
research now and again, and sendings off and stuff like that, just in case.
Well, it's looking like we're going to have a promotion at Portman Road. A big well done to Town's women on the verge of promotion, beating Gwalia 2-0. I think they deserve a round of applause. Fantastic season. Been close in previous seasons, but this year they hopefully will do it.
Yeah, hopefully they've just got to keep it going.
Yep.
One game at a time.
Setup's there, isn't it? Ready to go.
Yeah.
And it's time for the Man v Fat results. Now, Richard, what we have here is a Man v Fat league where the guys turn up, play football, and they get points for weight loss as well as scoring goals. So the new season kicked off on Friday, and a great start for the guys with the 12.5 kilogram group loss. This week's individual honours go to Sam Pike for a 5% loss and Sandro Suarez for an incredible 25% loss.
Wow.
Much excitement in the group this week as it was confirmed that we have booked Portman Road for a game under the lights in June. If only we knew someone who could announce the teams. Oh, I've retired from that. Well, maybe I can come back just for one match.
You've got to, Mark, I think.
Well, I remember shouting out Sarmiento that night when we scored.
Yeah.
You know, Sarmiento! My voice is going already.
One last one, Mark. You've got to go for it.
One final time. This week's results. Athletic Gingivitis 11, the Sweaty Blue Tits 12, right on the tits. RB Liposuction 14, OB City 10, Ipswich Chips Town 10, Kebabadine 6. So well done to the Man v Fat lads. Richard, it's Bam Bam. It's been great to have you on the show. An absolute delight. Are you going to get a chance to come down here at all anytime this season or not?
Probably not again this season, but yeah, hopefully next season. I'll be down in the summer anyway to see the in-laws, but yeah, no more games for me this year, but next year hopefully.
Okay.
Hopefully in the Premier League, but yeah, Championship will do. We'll take it.
We'll see. We'll wait and see. But great to see you. Thanks ever so much. You're an absolute legend. Richard Naylor, everybody.
Cheers, Richard.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Forever known as Bam Bam in these parts. A lovely, lovely fella.
Brilliant.
That's it for this week's show. If you're watching us live right now, it's time for Bournemouth versus Ipswich Town soon. If you're listening to us or watching us after that, you know what the score is already, and we have absolutely no idea. So I'm going to go for a 1-1. Russell, what are you going for?
Tonight's final score, I've got to go 2-1 to Ipswich.
OK, keep him positive.
Yes.
Good man. That's it. I'll leave you with a couple of words and the crowd are going to wave some flags. Blue Army!
Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army!
This has been a Life's a Pitch TV production. Main sponsor, DPS Tech. Also supported by Lakens, all about hearing. Forward Floors, Ginger Pickle, Fred Olsen Logistics, The Dove, Seckford Golf Club, Ashford Wright, John Keeble Cars, Venue 16, The Hudson Group, Come Hither Design, Sound 4 Pro Audio, and Suffolk Sound. Our charities this year: Cancer Support Suffolk and the Ipswich Town Community Foundation.